Hey, Patrick, how you doing, bud? Looks like you brought me
Not too
something
bad.
interesting. What'd you bring me?
Oh, I did. Good old Andrew Wilson here.
Oh,
I think I was telling you there recently. I there a day or so ago that I watched his debate with Candace Owens.
okay.
Really
How'd
good
that go?
debate, by the way. Candace definitely won it. Well,
Okay.
very well.
Handily? She
Andrew,
handily did it?
it was like watching a puppy getting kicked around the place. You can say that on YouTube.
Wow.
It
Well,
was, yeah.
I
It was.
specifically, I didn't watch it. I wanted to get your feelings on it and do something
Mm.
about whatever this was, because you said it was going to be a pretty hot thing. And I'm like, well, I'll have you watch it. And then that way, when we do an episode, then I can give my opinion. And then I will watch the debate in the next couple days. We'll talk about it and see if we need to do another episode. But it seems that some things were unearthed about Andrew Wilson since the debate, or even during that process.
This particular clip now that we're going to play for is before the debate, by the way.
Okay.
So, fair dues to this young man. When I say young man, he actually is younger than me, believe it or not. I'm just showing my age now. But he's an ex-Ranger, so on. You know, great military service to your country. And he points out a couple of things about Andrew. Or as later on we'll call him Pickles now later on, and you will see why. He's as I said to you, remember a few months back when we were talking about Andrew Wilson, you know the way he kept coming up in our feeds for a while?
Right.
Every second clip was from his show.
Right, the Crucible, or when he was on the whatever podcast with Brian, stuff like that. Was he on Fresh and Fit?
Oh, yeah, yes, he was. He was on one show with Fresh and Fit, and they absolutely
right.
Yeah, and they took him behind the woodshed. Is that the best term I could say?
Well, he was on a panel thing as well, and he got completely humiliated by somebody on the panel. Like, it was really crazy. I saw that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just saying that problem with I remember I kept saying to you, it's very easy to win an argument if the other side is paid to lose.
Oh, that does make sense. And I'm looking at the background here on Valhalla's channel, and he has, it looks like an Archon underneath a thing called a CIB, which is a Combat Infantryman's Badge. It's a Lee Enfield rifle on a blue field with a wreath if it's combat infantry. If you just have an expert infantry badge, it doesn't have the wreath. So he was an 11 series in the United States Army, which is infantry. 11 Bravo. There's also used to be 11 Hotel. There's also 11 Charlie, which is your mortarman, stuff like that. So, but yeah, so he was infantry in the Army, and he saw combat. That's why he has a combat infantry badge, which again is that Lee Enfield rifle on a blue field with a wreath. So
yeah.
I did a little bit of that stuff.
He served the country for years. No, right. Absolutely fantastic. Like his video came up after I was looking at the aftermath of the debate, so I was watching a couple of different videos, and his channel popped up in my feed. And I have to say, I watched him, and he also did a great live stream afterwards. I might link that in the comments down below with himself, Big Country. There's a few more on. Absolutely, very, very entertaining live stream as well.
Awesome. All right, so we'll play a little bit of this, and he's from what you told me, he's going to bag on Andrew here pretty bad. So let's see what the man's got to say. I think he brings up initially a fellow by the name of JD DeLay, who's a pretty interesting character as well. So we'll see what he's got to say. Here we go.
And of course, our good friend JD DeLay got in the mix, and he had some choice words as well for little baby Andrew.
Andrew, I know that you're going to see this, so I have an offer for you, buddy. I'm not a debater. I think that it's verbal masturbation, and I'd much rather do it with my hands. So if you'll come get in a ring with me and spar, even one round, I'll come debate you for an hour for every round that you could spar with me.
And I think this is a fantastic idea.
Bro, if that's the price of entry, I'll go around with JD DeLay. That'd be awesome. I'd get my ass beat for the channel. Why not, man?
Yes, great. But to be honest,
do you want to take a shot at it? Do you want to take a shot at it, Patrick? You want to do a round with JD DeLay?
I've seen the size of this dude. Trust me. Even if both of us win in the ring with 3 other guys, yeah, we're not lasting around. No, it's not going to work out well.
I have a little bit of experience. I might be okay for about 37 seconds.
Yeah.
37. Like, if it's 37 seconds, do I still get the hour? You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Yeah, just dodge and weave, man.
Right. But no, that seems like a fair proposition. Hey, if you're willing to spar with me, I'm willing to go do the thing you do, which is debate. Fair enough, right?
Like, I'd be straight out and honest with you. It's very easy for Andrew to sit behind a keyboard and call out these guys. Now, these guys will absolutely wreck him if they ever got their hands on him. There's no shadow of a doubt. These guys wouldn't probably just beat him up or anything like that. They don't strike me as those kind of guys. But I think the problem with Andrew is he spent so long debating against kids,
right?
That he's got this massive ego that he can take on anyone.
Well, yeah,
and I remember a few months ago, I said it to you when he was even dealing with Anna Kasabian and a few others on a panel one time, and she absolutely eviscerated him as well. This was ages back. I can't remember what panel the panel was about, but I remember we came up in one of our feeds, and she absolutely ripped him a new one as well.
Well, I think I had an issue with the. It felt so uneven, right? It just felt so uneven, right? When you're debating OnlyFans models and those who they have not taken the time to become intellectually informed, right? Their cognitive drive is not in the direction of how do politics work, how does anything really work. They're just trying to make some money, right? In a society that's broken, and that's the only thing that they feel that they're offered up as a way of making money, right?
Yeah.
And that just comes from a demoralized, over feminized society functionally, right?
Yes,
because their options and opportunities have been reduced.
But let's be fair. These OnlyFans models were paid to be on that show. So they were paid to take his abuse. Let's call it what it is.
Well, I think a lot of them feel like they have a position that's defensible, but then when the position isn't defensible, they have nowhere to go except to just get berated.
Yes, right? But when they bring in people from outside OF model community, like people who know how to debate. I remember there's a couple of guys went on there, and both Andrew and what's the other guy on the show? He's producer.
Brian. Yeah, Brian does the whatever podcast.
Yeah, so both of them were there. This guy came on, and he started asking both of them questions. And the more they tried to fight back, the more your man just kept asking questions. And the boys two of them lost it.
Right.
I mean, they just...
Well, so to be fair, both Brian and Andrew have some syllogistically sound arguments for some of the things they talk about. But the problem is that when pressed, sometimes their position or their point falls to the wayside, right? And it becomes more of I'm going to be right by force of will, as opposed to syllogistically correct arguments, right? Both premises are true and correct. So
do you think their argument is just fluff? They decided, okay, this argument we're going to run with. This is what's going to get us views. Or do you think they genuinely believe what they're saying?
I think that for the things that are syllogistically sound, both Andrew and Brian are pretty on point, but some of their more esoteric concepts just don't meet it out, right?
These are two, how can I put it nicely? These are two guys who wouldn't make it 5 minutes in the real world, I don't think, if I was being honest with you. They're big. They talk. I always found that guys who talk tough usually are probably the weakest guys in the audience.
Oh, until I've walked that mile in your shoes, I don't know. I'm not going to make that judgment unless I actually know the person and know their character. But we're finding out that Andrew Wilson's character is in question because he's functionally lying about a lot of things, and that doesn't lead to the credibility of your character. And it appears that stolen valor might be part of the issue that you were telling me about. So let's go ahead and play this.
A pretty fair and open challenge between two men. Yes, Andrew, if you go and spar with JD DeLay, he'll give you an hour. And that was your big crybaby moment with Heavy Duty Country, is he wouldn't give you more than an hour on his platform. Well, you can earn multiple hours by jumping in there and trying to spar JD. Now, you'll probably last about 7 seconds. I don't know what the math ratio on that is for what you'll get out of the podcast. But sure, yeah, we could all give that challenge. I'll give that challenge. Shit, Candace Owens could give that challenge. I'm pretty sure Candace Owens could also physically curb stomp Andrew as well. And actually, to all of the young 19-year-old girls who he debates, I would probably say that you guys should probably start offering him that challenge as well, because I have a feeling most women could also take him as well. Now, here's the thing where Andrew really stepped on his own dick, although I'm sure it's a micro and he wouldn't be able to step on it. But my point is, he decided to go after heavy duty country. Now, heavy duty country is all the things that Andrew pretends to be: an actual masculine man who can defend himself and his family and his community, a strong Christian man who protects women and children, all of the things Andrew can't actually.
So a heavy duty country is a big boy, and he is heavy duty country. I've seen a few of his things and he's pretty on point. And the things that he talks about are things that matter to American citizens and the right to defend yourself. And he talks about veteran issues, and he talks about service in the military, and pretty squared away guy, pretty good dude, right?
Yeah.
And not a guy you'd want to pick a fight with. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not a dude that you talk smack about, right? And I don't know if people understand this, but when men communicate in person, there's always the possibility of underlying physical violence that might happen, right? And we all know what the line is. If I say a thing to you that's over the line and we both know it's over the line, we're throwing dogs, man. We're scrapping. It's going to happen, right?
Yes.
But it seems like there's this protected world where I can say something online, and since you can't get to me to fix me because I've run my mouth, then it's a consequence-free world, right?
Yes. But you also have to remember, these guys do also have YouTube channels. So if you call them out, they will call you out back.
Right. They will send that traffic. They'll be like, oh,
yes,
I got something for that ass. Yeah.
yes.
They're not shy about it. And this guy, I mean, besides smack talking, and that's some good smack talk. He's really dropping it. Like, he's giving Andrew some what for there. And I think the Pickles thing is pretty funny too. So let's get on back to it.
And so this is again barking up a tree that you just can't climb. You should have stuck to trying to debate 19-year-old girls, bud. And what we also just found out from some clips that got drug up is that Andrew supposedly claims that he was in the Army for a year, and then later said that he was never in the service. But we have the clips of both. And yeah, I've got some big questions on that. You guys know me with talking about stolen valor. I think Andrew needs to answer some questions.
So again, I told you before, he's got a combat infantryman's badge, and it looks like an Army Commendation Medal, that green medal. So that means that as an 11 series guy, he went to basic training at Fort Benning, Georgia. Like, there's things you just know about 11 series guys, right?
Yeah.
And if he's got a CIB, that means he went to some regiment unit wherever he went, right? If he was a ranger, it'd be first bat, second bat, third bat. So he's going to be either West Coast.
This guy is a ranger, by the way, ex-ranger.
He's a ranger. Okay. So third bats at Fort Benning, Georgia. Second bats on the West Coast up in Washington. First bats over on the coast of Georgia, Fort Stewart, right? That's actually the air base outside Fort Stewart, closer to the coast, right? So for him to have that, it means that he went to a regiment type unit, or he went to one of the bats, one of the Ranger battalions, and he deployed with them into a combat zone, right? This dude's no joke. You don't just randomly get a CIB. You actually have to have been in combat with a unit that gets awarded that award. And it is an actual award. You are awarded the Combat Infantryman's Badge. So he's not just talking fluff. If he has those things on the wall and those are legit, then he has seen combat and he has defended our country against enemies, both foreign and domestic. In this one, more than likely foreign. You don't get a CIB on American soil. You have to be OCONUS, outside the continental United States, to get that specific badge. Like, so he's not bullshitting. He has the knowledge. He's legit, right? And pretty heavy on bagging on Andrew, but apparently at this point, Andrew's got it coming, man. He's got it coming.
Yes.
Sad enough to say.
Take a look at some clips of him claiming that he served in the Army. Now, Andrew, when you see this, I would highly suggest that you come out and correct the record on this, because I already put in a records review with Army HRC to see if this is even remotely true or not, because there's no such thing as a 1-year Army contract. And the fact—
spoiler, he wasn't in. I'm gonna give the spoiler now. I figure it's time. Go ahead.
There's no such thing as a 12-month contract.
So they're functionally all military contracts for the United States for an enlisted personnel, Air Force, Space Force, Coast Guard, Navy, Marine Corps, Army, whatever. It's going to be an 8-year term. So, but in that 8-year term, they split it up a bunch of different ways. So your active duty service which you don't necessarily have to have an active duty service component, but going to training isn't the active duty portion of it to start with. Then you can either go National Guard, you can go reserve, or you can go in active ready reserve. A contract can be, say, some of them are heavy on one end, like 6 years active duty, 2 years IRR. But a lot more of them are like 3 years active duty, 3 years in the Guard or reserve, and then 2 years on IRR, or you can just do 4 and 4, whatever it is. All the contracts are going to be laid out as at 8 years, but generally your minimum service time is going to be 3 years on active or 4 years Guard reserve before you go to an inactive ready reserve. And so for the Guard and the reserves, you do one drill or one inactive duty training in a month, and then you do a 2-week period called annual training in the summer sometimes, generally, where your whole unit gets together and you play active duty for a couple of weeks, right? But when you get to the inactive ready reserve, what you do is you do a physical once a year for all your IRR time. And then once you're in the IRR, a lot of times you get picked up for deployment because you're not under a unit that has you in a spot. So if you have a necessary MOS, which is in the Army is your job, right? So if your MOS, like this guy was 11 series infantry, right? Then if you don't have a unit, you're in the IRR, then they'll pull you to go on a deployment, right? Because you don't have a unit where you're in a slot where you're needed. So they say, hey, we need a bunch of 11 series guys to go do a thing, and we'll pull 5 or 6 guys from IRR to fill our unit to start our training cycle, which is generally about 18 months from 0 to getting on a plane to go to some foreign country to do whatever mission it is, right? So that's that process. But you are not going to get 1 year of active unless your basic training and your service school, your A school for the Navy and Marine Corps, or your MOS for the Army. So you do 3 to 4 months, depending, 9 to 10 weeks for basic training, and then your MOS school. That could be a year, but generally speaking, you would say that you did 4 years in the Guard or Reserve. You wouldn't say I did 1 year of active. Like, that's not how you would talk about it. So if he says I did 1 year of active, it means that there was a problem at the terminus of 1 year if he served for only 1 year, right? That would be a failure to, what's that called? Failure to assimilate into the military structure, right? You just can't do it. So you get a special kind of 18 drop out of the service, whatever, right?
Okay.
Or you got injured and it was such that you could not come back. But even if you, like, say, broke your femur or something, they would still rehabilitate you to being able to perform your function, because as an entity in the military, you're considered functionally be owned by the government, and the government's going to fix the piece of equipment, which is the service member, and then attempt to get them back into performing their function before they release you, right? Unless
what I'm found now, he does go over all these different reasons here now in a second, but if you have served in the US military, what type of form can you show people that you served in?
It's called a DD-214, or if you're in the National Guard, an NGB-22.
So either of those two forms, you can, because I know this gentleman, he goes into that later on in another video we'll be looking at later on. So just to bear that in people's minds.
Right. So yeah, if you serve in the United States military, terminus at the, if you don't extend term of service, ETS, you add to your contract, you'll get from the United States Army or other services, you get a thing called a DD-214, which is a DOD form. And then if you're in the National Guard, the same thing for your services represented, whatever state you're in, will issue a thing through the National Guard Bureau called an NGB-22, which indicates that you served in the National Guard for whatever state, say Iowa, California, or DC also has units as well. So you get an NGB-22 indicating that you served.
The fact that you said later that you never served, very questionable. Now, before we jump into that, putting this request in, we found out his age. Turns out Andrew is the same age as me, I believe, 40 years old. And oh my God, I thought this dude was in his mid-50s based off of his physical appearance. Because here's Dan, and then here's me at 40 years old, and this is Andrew at 40 years old. So no, Andrew, you don't get to be a voice of masculinity for anybody looking like a sausage stuffed into a plastic straw. Sorry, bud. But again, let's look at these clips and his claims about his time in the Army. All right, so shout out to this creator, Pangburn. Want to make sure he gets credit for this, for finding both of these clips.
So apparently, Mr. Andrew Wilson is engaging in stolen valor.
What's that?
Uh-oh.
When were you in the Army?
I was in the Army for a very limited amount of time, years and years ago. How long was that very limited amount of time, if you don't mind me asking?
It wasn't very long, about a year.
Yeah. So did you serve, Andrew?
I did not, no.
So, Andrew, I think me and all of my audience, yes, we have a huge veteran presence here, are wondering if you could clarify your military service, as you said there on that podcast, that you served in the Army for about a year. Yeah, I've got a lot of questions because, again, your standard Army contract is typically a minimum of 3 years. And so you only served 1 year in the Army? What happened? Well, I've got some ideas of potentially what happened if you actually were in the Army. It sounds like maybe you joined and maybe couldn't hack it, so you had some mental health issue where you were probably trying to cut yourself in the chow hall with a butter knife to show self-harm, then that would probably get you out of the military. Again, I don't know. I'm just going by, the type of thing you would typically see for someone who only did 1 year in the Army. It wouldn't be too physical injury because I watched guys tear their ACLs in basic training and go through a 12-month recovery before they went to their units. So the military would definitely still keep you in and take care of you. So what happened? Or is it what you said when you were on a different podcast when you said that you never served, huh? Well, those two things don't really add up or equate. Were you in the Army for a year or did you never serve? I'm going to guess, because you said on a different podcast that you never served, that that's probably the truth. So my question for you, buddy, is why'd you lie about serving in the U.S. military? Why'd you lie about serving in the Army? Because yes, stolen valor is the immediate career killer for anyone on the internet and social media.
Again, if you look in the background, that specific award he has up there, that CIB, is issued by the United States Army. That is an Army award, as is what I believe there's an Army Commendation Medal and ARCOM immediately underneath it, right? So again, he's not lying. He knows what the Army is. He was a part of it to the point where he was deployed with a unit that saw combat. So,
I've seen some, by the way, I've watched a few more of his videos today and yesterday, actually. And to be honest, this guy served his country very well. And I like his sense of humor, by the way. And by the way, I think his intro, absolutely fantastic as well. Very jealous of the intro.
I don't want to rip this guy's B-roll. Like, props to this guy.
No.
Props to you, Valhalla. Well done.
But absolutely brilliant channel. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and we're going to leave all the links to his stuff in there so you can go ahead and check him out. So let's go ahead and we'll finish up this video. We got a couple minutes from another video when this one's done. So here, we'll let him roll this one out a little bit and then we'll click to the other one.
But again, this dude is just a symptom of a broader problem. We've all seen this consistently from all of these theater kids in MAGA, right? All of these guys who LARP and pretend that they're some masculine male, right? You've got Andrew Wilson, you've got Benny Johnson, Ben Shapiro, Michael Knowles. And unfortunately, that grift is over in 2026. Yes, the fake alpha, fake masculine, fake tough guy online personality is pretty much dead in the water now.
I think we're going to go ahead and conclude this video and we're going to go to the other one, but I think he's right. There's a lot of people claiming, even though they have decent syllogistic arguments for lots of things, it doesn't feel like they're complete with those things. And they're more role-playing. So LARP, the live action role-play thing he was referring to, like,
yes,
they're pretending to be masculine. They're pretending a lot of things. And again, not that Benny Johnson or Michael Knowles or even Andrew Wilson doesn't have good things to say about some things that are affecting society. But sometimes, again, it's the bridge too far.
I'll be honest with you. I've seen some of their clips. And I've even seen some of Ben Shapiro clips. And to be honest, they're just playing a part. They don't believe 99.9% of the stuff that comes out of their mouths. No way. I don't think they do. I don't. Just the way they carry themselves outside of their stage. Once they get off their stage, when you see them being interviewed off stage, you could say, they completely fall apart.
Because they're not playing the character anymore?
They're not playing the character anymore. The mask comes off. You know what I mean? You can only keep playing these parts for so long on stage. It's like if you're in the middle of a role play, you can only act the part for so long. When you come off stage, the mask has to slip. And we've seen these guys numerous times. Once they hit a brick wall or they come across a person who can actually debate them or talk back to them.
Right, someone who can defend their position effectively, correct, right?
These guys fall apart very quick, like tissue paper.
Right. And it seems like a lot of the questions and things that they put online are softballs or lobs that they can just knock out of the park. or again, people who are, it would
bear
appear
in mind,
paid to lose the argument.
But bear in mind, a lot of these guys, including Ben Shapiro and all the rest of them, have a massive team of researchers in their ear. So it's very easy for them to look smart on stage when they have a massive team feeding them information constantly.
Well, I don't know that Ben Shapiro so much needs that, but some of the other ones might for sure.
A lot of them do. You can if you look at a lot of them on the stage, you see the earpiece. You can always see the earpiece, and you're kind of going, I've seen people doing debates, live debates, say in college and so on. They don't have a team of researchers in their ear. They don't have to. They can just free flow it.
Well, that's part of the reason I like those Oxford Union debates, because they don't get the earpiece for those.
No.
And like we watched Sacerdoti and that lawyer out of, what is her name? It's been so long since we did the episode, but she did an amazing job, and a lot of those guys did an amazing job. But they don't have the earpiece. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and kick over to the next portion of this. Give us just one moment while we get it lined up, and we are back. So this is the follow-up, and we're going to be looking a little bit more at Valhalla and him covering Andrew Wilson. And that is probably one of the funniest meme things I have ever seen. That is incredibly funny.
By the way, I had to turn off my mic there for a second because I was laughing so much. I'll hear that now.
Yeah, that's funny. Ranger, Airborne, Sapper, Special Forces, Recon, Mountain Air Assault. Yeah. I might have one or two of those, but I don't have all of them.
Yes, but you told you're not as good as Andrew. He's just, he's up there with the best of the best.
Oh my God. Well, no. So I've been to some of these schools in the Army, and I failed. I've just failed the school, and they just sent me back to my unit.
Yeah.
But
that happens. I think
sometimes you can't do a thing, and you find out when you get there you can't do a thing. That's just the way it is.
I think it's 20% pass rate for most of these units. Most advanced units, isn't it?
For
I remember.
For like SEALs or for Rangers a little bit higher, but for the 18 series guys, for Special Forces, really, really low. And SEALs, the percentage is super, super low. Right.
Yeah.
Wow. It is not an easy thing to do. And yeah. And I wasn't even at that level trying to get through that kind of training. And I was like, oh, nope, not for me. I did in excess of 20 years in the military, but it's like, yeah, I was never at that level, super high speed, low drag. I did my job, and I did my job well, and I got a couple of little awards here and there, but I wasn't out there killing it like these guys are, like Valhalla or Country or whatever. Like I wasn't at that level, right? But I worked hard, and I got pretty good at my craft, and but again, I wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of the thing in the military is understand your limitations, just like anything, understand your limitations. But even more than that, be forthright and be honest about who you are. And it will lead to you having a moral compass that faces more north, and you'll just be a better human for having done it. Right. Exactly. I didn't go to Special Forces because I couldn't handle it. It wasn't my thing. Right. I didn't have the physical acumen to do it. Although I'm a big, strong fella, I wasn't strong like that. I didn't have the stamina, right? I just didn't, and I'm a pretty decent shot. I shot expert a bunch of times on the range, but shooting expert on the range does not make you a mount guy. Like military operation, urban terrain, you can't, just because you can shoot on a range doesn't mean you can fight in cities and towns effectively. And that CQB, that close quarters combat stuff they do is super intense, right? Even just a taste of that is rough. I did it a few times here with some training units, and it's rough. Those simunition rounds hurt. When you come around a corner and you didn't do it right, they'll shoot you with those little sim rounds, and those things sting like a son of a bitch. It's not great, right? And I did some of the training. I got little certificates. Hey, good job. You went to the Army shooting course. Good job. And they're like, hey, do you want to go further? I'm like, no. I could barely do that. I got through it. I did as good as I could do. I got my little, here you go, way to go, again, piece of paper, right? Not even a real formal award, just, hey, you completed a little class. Yay, completed you know what I'm saying? Not so in the military, when you go to certain schools, you get a document called a 1059 that says you graduated a course, right? It wasn't even one of those, but I found my limitation. Hey, cool, I can do a little bit of the shooty shoot with a pistol and the carbine and all that, but I can't go to the next step. I'm just not, I've reached the limit of what I can do, you know?
Yes.
So,
Yeah. Right. Let's
all right. And you
let's
said,
see what he has to say. Let's see what he has to say about Sergeant Pickles here.
oh, command private major. All right. You said we're going to
Yes.
go to 212. So we'll start at 211 and we'll go ahead and, oh, tell them about what that pickle jar is about, by the way, before we get into it.
Right. Well, the clip, I'll go into sum it up in 30 seconds. So he had this model lady on, you know, their usual stick, as they would say.
Right. It was on the Whatever podcast. Just to...
So there was himself, there was his juice, and there was this lady, and next to it, he was on about that men have, you know, the right to force and all this, and your ones was trying to debate him back. So they slid over this jar of pickles and asked her to open it, and obviously she couldn't open the jar. The two boys had a laugh, so she slid it back to them. And Andrew tried opening it. You know, the big tough man, you know, men have the right, you know, can beat women and all this kind of old palaver that he goes on with. But in fairness, he stood there. He was there for a good 3 or 4 minutes trying to open this jar. But no luck. No luck. No, by the way, the other guy didn't have much luck either. You know, the other alpha male. On
well, when it comes to jars, I just have my old lady open it because she's big and strong. So,
well, I've never had a problem opening jars. I can always say that. I was a chef long enough. I can open a jar. I can open bigger jars than that.
You've met my old lady.
You have no choice.
You've met my old lady. She can open a jar.
She could open a jar. But I think, well, in fairness, now she probably, you know, I think she would curb stomp Andrew very, very easily as well.
Oh, she'd curb stomp almost anybody I know.
Yeah, yes. But for Andrew, lady. I think, yeah. So he had, you know, the pickle jar defeated him. It was a very sad moment for.
To be fair, since I brought up my old lady and you've had her cooking, how good is Mama Bear's cooking?
Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, absolutely.
Now it is recorded for posterity. Everybody knows that Alex Johansson's old lady can cook like a mug. She's so good. She spoils the hell out of me. It's worth my life. I love it. All right. Anyway, personal stuff aside, let's get to the pickles.
Did or you didn't, but let's take a look at what he had to say out of his own mouth before we jump into his records.
What's that?
When were you in the Army?
I was in the Army for a very limited amount of time, years and years ago.
How long was that very limited amount of time, if you don't mind me asking?
It wasn't very long, about a year.
About a year. So what happened?
Well, it doesn't matter what happened.
Oh, but we're talking about service, man.
What about it? There had to be some sort of service which was rendered before you were allowed to vote, yeah.
Like military?
Military service, maybe.
Yeah, so did you serve, Andrew?
I did not, no.
So part of the problem with that one was back in the day, you had to apply for selective service and you had to say that, or you had to sign something that said you'd be part of the fire brigade. So there were other requirements to being able to vote. So before the amendment came into place where everybody got to vote and there was a right.
Let's be fair here right now. Andrew's whole stick was for ages. If you haven't served in any shape, form or fashion your country, you shouldn't have, if you don't have skin in the game, you shouldn't have the right to vote.
Correct.
Now, this is a gentleman who's never served his country whatsoever. Let's call it what it is.
Right, I understand that. But he also said,
by the way, he hasn't served in the army. I can guarantee you he's never served as a volunteer in any shape, form or fashion with any service around him, either for firefighting, reserves, anything.
I understand that. But
so it's very unfair for him to turn around and tell people, if you haven't served, you shouldn't be allowed to vote.
Right, but the other side of that was property ownership and running a business was also something that could get you the right to vote, right? Get you the franchise to vote.
Right. By the way, he doesn't own the business. He doesn't own the Q's. All the podcasts he's on are owned by the other guy. So he doesn't own a business. I can guarantee you nearly that he still has a mortgage in his house, so he doesn't fully own that house. The bank does.
Be that as
so
it may.
What right does he have to vote?
Well, back in the day, they didn't have mortgage companies like that. It didn't work like that. So it's a little bit
yes,
different.
but I'm just saying that he's telling people, so according to his argument, he shouldn't vote whatsoever. He shouldn't have any right to vote.
Then he shouldn't vote if that's his position.
Exactly.
So.
You also never served. Now, this is very, very important context. A lot of people are missing why this is so important here and who he's actually talking to in each one of these clips. And as we see here at the beginning, we've all seen the Whatever podcast, right? Where, of course, Andrew Wilson demonstrated his incredible ability to open that pickle jar. As you see, we have our pickle grenades right here if we need to use them to defend ourselves. It's the one thing that Andrew Wilson simply cannot handle. So if you're ever in a pickle with Andrew Pickles Wilson on the other side, make sure you have these bad boys ready. Now, this is important because what you see here is Andrew claims that he was in the Army for about a year because he, I'm pretty sure, wanted to sound cool. And this was back in 2025, as you see. Dorks and fucking losers decide to do this when they're talking to other civilians to sound cool. Now, what a lot of people didn't know is in this later clip, this gentleman right here, who's actually really funny, is a veteran. He actually just massively shit talks MAGA nonstop. It's pretty funny. But the important context of this is when Andrew is debating somebody that he knows was in the military and he's asked if he's ever served in the military, of course, the answer is much different. It's no, I've never served. Now, we also have to look at things said by his own wife, and this context is very important as well. As you see here, she says sometimes it comes in really handy to have a husband who's a master gunsmith and an Army sniper. Now,
So anybody in the United States can be a gunsmith, but claiming to be an Army sniper is not, that's a big, big claim. And there'd be a 1059 indicating not that you course completed, because a lot of people get a course complete, but to graduate, you actually have to go through, much like his channel, it's a crucible. It is a very, very difficult final exam at sniper school at Fort Benning, Georgia, with the M24 sniper rifle. It is as difficult as you can imagine a sniper course could be.
Yes.
The only one I think that's more difficult is the Marine Corps Scout Sniper course, which is a combination of scouting skills and sniper course. So it has some more physical demands. Not that the Army Sniper School doesn't have physical demands. Oh my God, it does. But the Marine Corps makes everything harder just for whatever. I don't know. They're crazy.
When she talks about being a gunsmith, can you explain that to people who wouldn't know that term?
Right. So the people who perform repair functions in the United States or anywhere in the world on guns are gunsmiths, right? Those who can fix your gun. Okay. So for instance, right? So a buddy of mine wants to get a Glock 22 because he wants to rebarrel it as a SIG 357, because the 40 round isn't really all that much better than the 9, and it's not as good as the 45. But if you rebarrel it for the SIG 357 round, that round comes out of the barrel in excess of 1,600 feet per second. In fact, the Oakland Police Department used it for a while. It was used in approximately 10 incidents where, hold on, let me finish, where they had to respond with lethal force, and 9 out of the 10 rounds terminated the threat, right? So my buddy wants to have a round that is a more effective round for self-defense, so he wants to rebarrel it. So if you want to rebarrel it, if you can't do it yourself, you're going to look for a gunsmith to rebarrel your pistol. That's what a gunsmith does. They
so
rebarrel
a guy
and
who's pretty good at fixing guns, pretty much.
Right, but there's also a course that's involved with it, and you need X amount of hours to claim to be a gunsmith, right?
Yes.
So,
Do you think judging by Andrew's claims so far, you think he's a gunsmith or just a guy who's really good at fixing guns with YouTube tutorials?
I don't know. I haven't taken the measure of the man and his ability to fix a firearm. I mean, I'm sure if I brought him, say my Ruger 5.7 or some other firearm, right? Then he would say, okay, well, this is this and that is that. And you would get to understand the mettle of the individual by how it is they discuss your firearm. And then you would also be able to tell by the tool set they have, because my best friend is a gunsmith. And if I have an issue with a firearm, I bring it to him.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we pull out the tools and we work on the stuff together. You know, Murica. It's a big Murica moment is what it is.
Yes.
Right. So
Andrew, of course, tried to claim on the Candace Owens show that he was the colloquial sniper. Yes, that he doesn't know why his wife said that. But let's explain how this works, because this is sort of the Tim Kennedy approach to stolen valor. It's called proxy stolen valor. And so what people do, like Andrew here is, and so you understand, anybody who serves knows that their wife has no idea what's going on while you're at work. The only way she would have any clue about what you did in the military is based off what you told her. So yes, Andrew Wilson did tell his wife at one point that he was an Army sniper. Now, did he do that because he had met an older woman at a bar? And knowing that he had a lot of competition because she's got 3 baby daddies, he needed to posture himself as some type of war hero, and he told her he was that historic Army sniper. I'm not really sure.
You know what? I think we're gonna leave it on that right there because that is hilarious. We're gonna leave
Yes.
that meme up. So, but real quick to discuss what Valhalla said there. What he said was it's stolen valor by proxy, right? Kind of like Munchausen by proxy, that kind of thing, where if you give people bad information about you and they trust you, then it shows the breadth of your character, right? And it seems
Yes.
like his character is now in question for being disingenuous, and yeah, it's just not the right way to go.
Do you think this was going to happen to Andrew eventually?
By being
Or did it take?
by
Do you
being
think it?
by being disingenuous, it was inevitable, especially when you get
Yes.
onto a platform that big, right? So we are very minor players in the YouTube space and in the Rumble space. We're very minor players, and that's fine, right? This is
Yeah.
a passion project. I don't care if I make money. This is whatever. I do this because I think that we have, again, two complex voices, or excuse me, two veteran voices in a complex world. I forgot our own little thing, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, whatever it is, right? So, but the thing is I think that what we do has worth, and if people listen to this, then they'll be like, okay, well, I see their perspective, and maybe it'll help them think through stuff, right?
But do you think Andrew was going to fall on his sword sooner or later? Because I remember pointing this out to you a few months back, that this guy was just absolutely full of it.
Well, the thing is I watch, I probably have watched, I don't know, about 120 hours of The Crucible, and for the most part, his concepts and the things he talks about with him, and he has this lawyer that comes on with him that's pretty good. But he goes off into esoterica, right? And when he gets out in the weeds like that, I think a lot of his positions are syllogistically unsound, right? But
yes.
the use of force doctrine stuff and some of the other things he talks about have merit, but I think he takes it a little further than it should go. But the thing, again, is if you're disingenuous, and the internet will find out. Right.
Yes.
So
Well,
if
I know he goes on a lot about this whole use of force, quite a bit. Coming from this guy, laughable. But it's very easy to talk about use of force, and big strong men talk like that, as Valhalla pointed out. And when you're talking down to 18, 19-year-old kids,
right?
Now, would he talk about use of force if a 6'5" linebacker lady came in? Would he talk down to her? I doubt it. I doubt it very, very much.
He wouldn't talk like that to my old lady. He'd get grabbed by the throat and put on the wall.
Exactly.
I've seen her angry.
It's very easy. It's very easy because I've watched one of their live shows as well. That one of his shows, and these type of guys, Andrew Wilson and all them, talk a very, very big game, and a lot of young men, a lot of men in general, fall for their stick, and it's disingenuous to them. It's disingenuous to the guys that are listening to them. It's disingenuous to young men listening to them, because this is not a real product.
Right. It's the Andrew Tate problem, right? He speaks to them in a way where they feel like they're empowered, but he doesn't give them the right tools to success. Just pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and that's not in modern society the way that's going to work effectively.
And with this guy, and as I say, it was going to happen to him. It happened to him a lot sooner than I thought it would, actually. I think his biggest mistake was taking on Candace Owens. Because, like her or hate her, she's a fantastic debate. She's fantastic at debates.
Yeah.
She's well-spoken. She knows her stuff. And I'm very, very surprised that, one, he challenged her to a debate. Two, that he sat down and did it. Because it was going to be a train wreck for him. Right. It was absolutely going to be a train wreck.
I figure once Candace Owens has her baby, maybe they can do the JD delay thing where they box for a couple rounds and see how that works out for him. But
well, to be honest, my money be still on Kansas. Kansas would kick his ass.
I'm down for a round with JD delay if it gets him on the podcast. I'm down. I'll put on the little helmet or whatever. I'll see what I can do.
I'll be straight out and honest. I know where I'm a betting man. I know where I put my money. No offense.
Oh no, I'm putting my money on that dude too. Not that I'm not going to give it all I got, but I mean, I'll take an ass whooping. I'll take an ass whooping. You know what I'm saying? So he's a little bit younger than me. So,
but as I say, all jokes aside, I think Andrew had it coming to him.
Yep,
big time. I'd be honest. I'd be very surprised if he comes back from this.
He could. All right, for Patrick
Didn't-
McCallum, I am Alex Johansson. Like, subscribe, ring that bell, and help us beat the algorithm. With the A&P Gents, we are out.